Good morning or afternoon or evening, I guess, wherever you're listening and when you're listening from. You are here with the Real Joy Project. I'm Jenny Lee, and I'm here with Nikki and Shelby. And we have had a couple of weeks where we've been talking about hormones, and we've had some different guests on our call, and it has been great conversations. But today we just wanted to come back to you guys and go back to our original coffee chat, where we're just going to come and talk about life, what's going on, and talk about a couple things. I don't know if we're going to get deep, how deep we'll get today, but stick around because we're going to chat. We're just going to have some fun conversation today. So, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good
Yeah, how are
morning.
you
Good
guys
afternoon.
doing?
Yeah.
Ah,
Well,
whew.
I'll jump in. I think that the cool thing about it is if you're watching, you guys, this is just like a snapshot of how often we talk. Sometimes we talk multiple times in a day, and I didn't even used to think I was one of those people that would talk to people multiple times a day. But then we can go days or maybe even a week without really touching base. We use something that's called Marco Polo. If you're not familiar with it, definitely get your friends, family, or your girlfriends on it because it's the best way to have like a chat. I love to see everybody's beautiful faces. Whether I used to call it crazy hat or cat lady, I'd get on the treadmill and I'd be talking to people and my hair would be all over the place. But um, it's a way to stay connected. But we've recently kind of been all busy with things that have been going on. And I almost think that busy is a four-letter word in my vocabulary for the longest time. About I guess it would be 4 years ago or 4.5 years ago, or 3.5, I don't even know, I'll lose track. I changed my career and went a different direction and work out of the home 3 days a week. And then 2 days a week work on my own company and other things that I'm doing. And recently it was like, holy cats, I just felt a little bit overwhelmed. There was a lot of things coming in and I was excited about a lot of it, but somebody asked me how I was doing and I almost reverted back to that old like it's crazy busy. And I think I shared that with these ladies, like I said the B word, you know. Um, but I think that what it is it's retraining our brain that it's okay to acknowledge when we are busy and that, to not wear it as a badge, right? But being honest with ourselves and other people that right now where I'm at, it is busyness and that but my worthiness is not tied to my busyness. Right now that I have a lot of things, maybe irons in the fire, but it's all things I want to be doing. However, there are a few things that I've decided I'm gonna, let go by the wayside, or I'm gonna do them on a very intimate and basis or something like that. But I think that's something that I'm learning in this, stage of life right now, that it doesn't have to be a bad word, right? Because then there's times where we have a little bit, because actually somebody just asked me the other day, they're like, well, what about your white space? Because that's what I talk about on my planner. I got to make sure that there's enough white space on there because I realized I used to be such an intro or extrovert. I don't know that anybody would ever call me an introvert, but an extrovert. But I realized that I desperately need time to myself more than I ever have in my life before. And so being protective of that and making sure that that still stays there, it may not be as much right now as it has been in other times of my life, but making sure that there is like my minimum, right? And making sure that that is getting fulfilled. So, I guess that's where I'm at right now. I won't go deeper right yet, but that's temperature gauge of where Nikki is at right now. Yeah.
Well, and I know, and you had reached out that one day, and you were like, "Oh, it's so busy," and you're like, "I know we're not supposed to say we're busy," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you truly are," and because it's something we've worked so hard on, not having that natural reflex of, "Oh, I'm busy," in the sense of you, I always felt like I had to say that because like I've heard you say, Nikki, like if somebody calls and happen to be resting on the couch, you jump up and start the dishes, like, oh, I'm doing dishes because you feel guilty for not being busy. So we worked so
Mhm.
hard on not saying that as a natural reaction. But that day I like told you, I was like, no, you really are busy right now. It's okay that this week is a really busy week for you because you're working on some really cool things. But and what did I wrote that down the other day? Shelby said something about, oh, like you're busy should not be your identity. It's just the fact that right now you're busy. You got a lot going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it does have that negative connotation at different times, or there's different seasons where we feel it is our badge, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another one thing I would say is like find the people to surround yourself with that will call you on that. Like you just did, a couple days ago or last week when you're like, yeah, but you are busy. So it's not instead of somebody that just says, oh, yeah, yeah. No, really talking through those things of saying, it's okay. Is your busyness, are you good with where you're at, right? Like if you're not having those conversations on a daily or a semi-weekly basis with somebody, having that phone a friend that you can talk to or send a Marco to, that's the coolest thing about the Marco, like we've talked about before, is that it's beautiful because it's when it works for you. Then the person on the receiving end, they don't they don't have to tell people they don't have to pick up right now, right? But we can still send that message because how many times in a day or in a week do you think of someone, but then you don't act upon it, right? You think, oh, or you have a thought about that person. Oh, I should reach out to that person. I haven't talked to them in a while, or something like that. Like I really love to do voice messages if I don't have the Marco with them, just so they hear my voice and I'm like, hey, you popped into my head today. I wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you. I know you have like four babies under the age of 5, and so you're probably knee deep in poo poo and this, that, or the other thing. And just, how awesome is that when somebody takes those moments, whether it's in a card that comes in the mail or they send you a text or you're gonna, or the next time you see them, they're like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about you so much lately. And,
Yeah.
what a God wink that you showed up in my life today. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. So I just want to touch on one thing and then come back to what you finished with. Um, it's okay to be busy, right? In For a season too. Like busy doesn't have to be like I had said to Jenny, like your identity, but it doesn't have to be like your lifestyle forever. You're busy building some new things and learning some really cool stuff right now. So it's okay, Nikki, to be busy and say that you are busy right now, knowing that you won't be this busy forever. You don't have to make that much, you don't have to be that busy forever. um but it's interesting what you ended on. Jenny and I were texting this morning, and Jenny I think meant to like do an audio text to me, and I'm out walking and I get this text from Jenny and I'm like, it's this long, and I'm like, okay, I want to read this because I know it's important. But I'm walking, and so I was like, okay, I had to like stop and like read through it. And I get to the bottom and there's another text and she's like, I'm so sorry, that meant to be an audio text. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. So I responded in audio to her, and she she has some stuff coming up and we were kind of talking about some things, and her response back to me was an audio text, but she was talking about like, man, it was just so good to like hear your voice today. Because in her like after her big long text, she was like, I hope you didn't take this a certain way, like it didn't come off this way in text. And it didn't take it that way, by the way, but just hearing your tone of voice, and there's
Mhm.
just so much. Yes, a text message sometimes is great if somebody's saying like, hey, I'm thinking of you or just wanted to check on you. But there's a lot behind hearing somebody when they genuinely care about you, or they're giving you that advice or the permission to be like, it's okay that I am busy right now. And I've gotten so much advice from both of you on parenting and being a first time mom. And it's just when you hear it from somebody versus if you two were to text me that, like, yes, it
Yeah.
has some impact, but when it's like, no, like you need to hear in my voice, like, stop being like that. It's okay. It just hits way different. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I just needed to hear that when I heard your voice, and it was just like, oh, this is what I needed to hear, but I needed to hear it through your voice. It really was good to hear your voice. But so like we were talking about Marco Polo, which is an app that we can use. But another trick for people is on Facebook. If you have Facebook on Messenger, you can
Mhm.
use the little voice clips and leave people messages. And like Nikki said, I think that's important to do to people and just say, even if you know, sometimes I don't want to leave people messages. Nobody ever wants to call anymore, right? Like that's a thing. It's like, but leave them a message somehow, some way, and just leave. If you're busy right now, you don't need to respond right now. I just wanted to say hi. Because sometimes I won't send a message thinking, oh, they're probably busy. And then it's like, no, I can tell them hi. No need to
Mhm.
respond, but I just wanted to say hi. We need each other. We do. I think, is it's so easy to get lost in our own worlds and families and kids and jobs. And it's important to have those friends. And we've talked about that in some of our past conversations, adult friendship. But yeah, there's a lot of little ways we can do that and even when we're in our busy seasons.
Yeah. And I was just going to
I
say
think
that.
during
Oh, go ahead, Chel. Go ahead.
I think during those busy seasons too, sometimes that's the best time to hear from people too, because you're probably drowning in all of your stuff and it's nice to either get a break or it almost just like comes at the right time from somebody where they're like, hey, I'm thinking of you. And busy can be busy, like, Nikki's learning some new stuff and doing different business ventures, and I'm over here learning how to potty train and do all those things. But sometimes busy too can be more like chaotic or kind of negative. Like, I have a lot going on in my life, and when you hear from somebody, it's like it kind of breaks that busyness up a little bit too. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think that sometimes it can be that life preserver and trusting ourselves when we have those moments where we feel like we're supposed to. I guess that's something that I have really leaned into when I've felt that intuition that I'm supposed to call this person today, or I'm supposed to, or they came to my mind for a reason, or I haven't heard from them for a long time. And we make up these excuses in our head. Well, they're busy, right? They've got a lot going on. They've got little kids. They've got this, that, or the other thing. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to, I know that I would just be another thing that they'd have to take care of right now. Whereas if you look at it from the other side, like you just said, Shelb, or even Jenny Lee saying, I could just see her body when she said, hearing your voice, just she's coming up on a trip and different things like that. And I know what Jenny Lee used to be like before, and I think you did too. 7, 8 years ago, what she used to do to get ready for a trip, and now what she's doing now to get ready for a trip. Very different, right? But there's still so being able to have that connection and trust yourself when you're feeling that you should contact that person or reach out to them. It can be such a life preserver, I guess, is what. And I know that I am very, very blessed because I have several different groups of friends that I can call upon. Like if I feel like I might have overstayed my welcome or like, called or texted too many times to this one group, I realize I have several other groups that I can be like, hey, how are you today? Like if I really feel like I need to have coffee with somebody, or those types of things. I know that I'm lucky, and that may not be somebody else's forte either, right? But it might be and just acknowledging that it's okay to want that, right? I know
Yeah.
for me in the beginning of like learning to be alone and enjoying my alone time in the beginning, I was going to say earlier when we were talking about it, for me it was an addiction. For me I was a workaholic. I didn't know how to sit still. I didn't know how to not be working. I didn't know how to just enjoy being, And I still have moments of that, where I'm like, I should be doing something else right now. I should be, or if I sit down on the couch, that's what I always talk about is like sitting on the couch and somebody calls and then feeling like I have to say to, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I get up and I run to the laundry or run to the dishes, and I'm like, oh, I was just doing the dishes instead of saying, no, I was sitting my happy little ass on the couch and watching some Netflix. Have you seen the new Bridgerton or whatever, right? Instead of saying that, we make up something else, or have you seen the new episode of the Madison. Oh my gosh, if you haven't started watching that, get ready to bawl
Um,
your eyes out. But anyway,
Writing that down because I've been looking for new TV shows and I need the new seasons of Bridgerton. Like I've got a
yeah,
few of those to watch,
yeah.
new episodes, but Madison, you
The
said?
Madison, we could do a whole show on this because
Oh my gosh.
I'm not joking. We could go down that road, but the Madison, I will preface it because like somebody that has dealt with grief, I like people to be able to tell me if there is some of that in it. Before losing Gracie, that was not something that I probably even paid attention to. But nowadays, I definitely want to know some of those trigger warnings that are going to be there. In the Madison, somebody does, they lose somebody in their family. That's good to know ahead of time. I mean, I could tell it by the trailer, but I will
Okay.
tell you, it takes place in Montana and it is
Oh,
some of the most, where a lot of the scenes are shot. It is some of the most beautiful scenery. I could just watch the show for that. But Michelle Pfeiffer is in, no, yes,
oh,
right? Yes,
now
yes.
I remember
Yeah,
seeing the
yeah. And Kate
yes,
Hudson's dad, why his name is escaping me. But anyway,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
we could go off on, I've kind of gotten on this, like, I really, even though I've been so busy, I've been making myself sit and take time, whether it is not making sure that it's not just scrolling, that I'm like
Hmm.
reading a book or I am watching something on TV or going for a walk. Because that's the other thing is that I've had seasons in my life where all I wanted to do was read. And then also I've had seasons of where all I want to do is listen. I do a lot of
Yeah,
like Audible and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
And lately I've just felt a little bit overstimulated. So, and
Mhm.
to read a book, I really haven't found a ton of enjoyment in it just lately. So I've kind of put that to the side and I'm like, so what? Okay, so watch some TV. Why is that such a bad thing? I think of my one friend that always says, well, go watch some smut, and she just means like mindless stuff that you don't really have to
Yep.
follow. And I mean, you can do other things too. I'm not knocking anybody else. Like, if you like to knit or whatever, find what works for you. But sometimes it's okay to just I mean, I remember growing up, and that was like some of my favorite times where like we might have like a big storm that rolled in, and I
Yeah.
mean, we would go outside and play in the snow and stuff like that. But we'd come in, and then we'd all watch a movie together. Or if you remember the Sunday movies, like the Disney movies on our three channels that we had, I'm just saying like those times, like they make us just be slower and just take
Yeah.
time to just relax. And I think that's the other thing about this busy season that we're kind of talking about with each of us. It's finding it doesn't have to be for hours on end. It could be even 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Taking a nap. I know Jenny Lee is one that definitely could take a nap. Me, I am not one, but I know so many people, 15, 20 minutes can do wonders for you, you
Well,
know?
it's learning that to do that stuff without feeling guilty, and that's the stuff we've been working on with each other. Is like, you
Mhm.
know, I'm gonna go lay down for 20 minutes and then I'll get up and most of the time I'm much more productive and get more done the
Mm.
whole day anyway. But it's so hard to let go of that guilt of what like I'm gonna go watch TV for a little bit or lay down and take a nap or and it's hard. It's like even though sometimes I feel like I do really good and then I'll fall back into like feeling bad about it or like, oh, I gotta stay busy. But that's again where have people that you can not only keep them accountable, but they can keep you accountable and just like, hey, so, are you taking some time for yourself right now? Remembering to do that.
Well, and the other thing is how many times even when you're first starting, it's that, okay, well, I'll do all these things and then I'll go and do it. I
Yes.
caught myself
Yeah.
doing that last week and I was like, hell no. No. You know why? Because I'm going to get busy. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be working on these projects and I'm going to get so excited about it and want to do it. And then by the end of the day, I'm not going to have time to do it. So, no, I'm going to sit my happy ass, like I said over here, I'm going to sit it down and I'm going to give myself up to an hour, 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And so I make myself go do it in the middle of that because I know it's no different than me doing my workout or my walking in the morning and my meditation in the morning. I know if I don't do it then, I will not get it back. So that's what helps me kind of break it up. But
Yeah.
if that works for somebody else, that's fine. But I know for me that if then it comes to the end of the day, the end of like your typical work day, and I'm like, well, now there's no more time. Now it's time to make supper or whatever. And I never, because that old feeling of like it has to be earned. Well,
Yep.
when I get all these things done on my checklist, then I can sit down and do that. Where in all actuality, why do we think that way? I mean, look at people over in Spain and all those different countries. They have siestas built into their workday. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing new, right?
I would thrive in those communities. I'm telling you. I remember when I worked for the chiropractor when I lived in North Dakota, and I had an hour lunch break. And luckily, my drive from the office to our house was only like maybe 8 minutes, right? Like that was a long drive for 8 minutes, which is so funny now living in Houston. Like you can't get anywhere in 8 minutes. Um, but I would go home and like let my dog out, like even take him for a speed walk. And then sometimes I could sneak in like a 15-minute cat nap and get back. And that was the best thing ever. So I'm with you, Jenny, like a nap, that full reset. Um, with that, I kind of wanted to circle back on that guilt feeling. So recently I had an experience where we just we're busy too, right? We have a toddler. She's going to be 2 in June. And it's like, if we're not running somewhere for, she's in gymnastics, she's in swim lessons. So if we're not running her somewhere, we're having appointments or we're having family come or friends. And it just felt like life was like a million miles an hour. And I was really struggling with juggling being a stay-at-home mom, trying to improve my business and make that a little more successful and more aligned with what I wanted it to be, but also still be a good mom, still be a good wife, still keep myself, who am I, and find myself. And I was we had went for a family walk and we got back, and the whole time we were walking, in my mind I was like, well, I'm getting my movement in, we're outside in the sun, I should be enjoying time with my family. And I could just feel like almost like that resentment starting to build and build and build and build. And we got home, and my husband was like, "You're pretty quiet over there." And I was like, dang, he totally caught me. I was like, I don't know how to say this, but I need a break. And I was like, I don't need a break from you. I don't need a break from our daughter. I'm feeling very, very overwhelmed, and I don't know what a break looks like. And I told him, I was like, it's really hard for me to even tell you that I need a break, because it felt like I failed, and I felt guilty for wanting to kind of reset. And he's like, "Well, what do you need?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I was like, that's part of the reason why I didn't want to come to him either, is because I didn't have the answer to the problem. I just said, all I know is I need a break. And so we kind of just sat and talked back and forth about it. And it came down to, I literally just, he's like, leave the house. Like, go, don't put a timeline on it. I'll be here with our daughter. Like, he's like, obviously don't just like leave for the next 3 days and like leave us hanging. But he's like, just get out of the house and go do what you want to do. And so I went and got a pedicure, and just even in like that hour and a half to 2 hours of being out of the house, I could just feel that pressure and like that tension and resentment that I was building just release. I had a conversation with people that I don't know. I upgraded the pedicure because I was like, if I'm gonna be here, we're getting the like 20-minute leg massage. Like, let's make this happen. And while I was there, I was texting another mom friend, and she reminded me too in that moment, because I was telling her, I'm like, I just feel guilty like leaving the house and this and that. And she was like, think of how much better of a mom and wife you will be when you get back. She's like, all that resentment built up, but now, and it just, I was like, wow, yeah, like I do feel so much better. I think as women, right, you don't have to be a mom to experience that or anything. I think we just get so overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities and things that we think we need to do that, like Nikki said, we don't stop and pause. We don't take a nap like Jenny does. We don't sit and just, so what? We binge watched an hour worth of TV, because guess what? I'm not getting to do that during the day because we don't let our toddler have TV on. The last time I got to watch what I wanted to watch on TV had been over a year until recently that I'm doing the same, like just binging a show some nights.
Yeah.
And as a mom, it's not like your day ends at 5 and then like, oh, I'm off for the night, you know. So what if you take an hour in the middle of the day? It's like you work 24 hours a day. I mean, you know, I'm being a little exaggerated, but you are on call 24 hours a day, you know.
Yeah.
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 I was just going to say that too. So think about this. So your husband had a phenomenal response. Let's just say that because, excuse me,
He
not,
knows how to respond now though, because we've
yeah,
had those like
yeah,
he's like, wow, okay, this is not good, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But it took communicating
yeah,
and just
yes.
being vulnerable and honest with him, and then him being willing to receive that too and problem solve with me.
Yeah, because he can't, I mean, I think about early on in my marriage and when we had our kids, and so many times I would say, even as our kids got older, so many of the things that I was having conversations in my head about, I was thinking he should know, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, we've been together for nearly 34 years, for criminy's sakes, and there's still things I'm like, isn't it? I did not say that out loud, and I haven't ever said that out loud. I should probably say that out loud, right? But what I was going to say about your husband, and I'm just saying as an example, he goes to work for this many hours, right? You are not leaving your house,
Yeah.
Shelby. I know you're going out for your walks and stuff like that, but think about that. We know, I mean, I'm just talking about even when some of the speeches and the things I teach about is that, there's a reason why, because I was the worst proponent of it. I never took a lunch time and I never took our 15-minute break. So what the hell is that? I mean, I wore it like a badge of honor that I never took any of those. And then when I, left my old career, shifted, I refuse for that to happen. I try to make sure that my staff that I have oversight on that are taking their lunches and they're not having them at their desk and they're leaving the building and go for 15 minutes. I don't care if you walk in or go sit in the sunshine, just get out of your desk, right? Out of your chair. And the same thing apply and the research shows us when you do that, you have so much better focus. You do.
Hmm.
The research shows us if you get up for 15 minutes, like for me, even when I first took that new day job, if I went from I'm on the bottom floor and I just walked to the farthest bathroom on the next floor, just to like make sure that I was like getting at least some movement and stuff like that. So that's, think about it that way. I'm not dogging on your husband. He's not, I'm just saying we sometimes think, because I think about having this conversation with Jenny Lee years ago, that she was like just chewing her own ass because she would not get down to her office by 8 a.m. And she was like, she would just beat herself up about it and stuff like that. And I'm like, who said you had to be to your office at 8 a.m.? And it
Yeah.
was just like complete like aha moment of like, what? I'm like, no, you work from home, so you should be able to decide what hours you want to work, when you want to work, how long you want to work, whatever you want to do. If you're working from home or whatever, you're taking care of your kids, and I know we don't want to call it work, but we would pay somebody else to do it. So
Yeah.
the same thing for you is that it's like because having been a workaholic, if I was in that same office or doing the job for 10 to 12 hours a day, no wonder I ended up resenting it because I never
Yeah.
got out of it. I never had time away from it. It's absence makes the heart grow stronger type thing, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, how awesome that he was like, yes, take some time because he has, even if he only lives like you guys only live 10, 15 minutes away from his office or whatever, and I know sometimes he works from home too, he still has that little bit of space, right? He has that
Yeah.
time. And then you don't. And then here you are. He's not wanting you to feel guilty. But because of how so many things that we think of ourselves, especially as moms, and working moms. I think even, you work from home and you still have that, because I will tell you, being a mom that worked full time out of the home, I had some of that guilt, but then a lot of times I would say, I do not have enough patience to be with my children 24/7. So I always felt like the people that stayed home, you guys were angels because I just was never one of those that could do that. So I think it comes back to realizing that if we're only ever in the same environment, no wonder. I mean, it's like if you put your dog and put them in a cage the whole time and never let them out except for to go to the bathroom, wouldn't you be sad? They would be really sad, right? Because I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
then they just feel like they are so caged in that space. And that's doesn't mean that you don't love your child, doesn't mean that you don't love the choices that you've made. Or maybe you start to realize, you know what? I need to do some adjustments. Like how can I build that into my day, right? And maybe that is like I think about somebody them coaching currently on the founders table and or have coached before. Like we had to put that in their day. And it took
Mhm.
time. Actually, recently it just happened. The first time she went and sat her happy ass on the couch, and her husband came home and he was like, "Excuse me." He's like, "What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" And she's like, "Nothing." And he was happy, but this just had never, I'm like, but you did it, right? You did it. And so I'm just saying, like, because we all have those moments of like, we don't think we should allow ourselves to have those moments of quiet. And I'm like, but when you did the world fall apart? No. And
No,
then
if anything, it
better.
got better. I felt better. I wasn't resentful towards my husband. I wasn't resentful towards like being a caregiver anymore. And I think just as women in general, we carry all that guilt with us. And I like what you said earlier about like, you don't have to earn rest. Like, who told you that you had to earn rest? And I have several other women in my life that were like you, or still like how you were, Nikki, where like they cannot sit still. I mean, they literally cannot sit still, not because of like some medical thing or anything. Like I think they are just programmed that if I am sitting still, like this is wrong, this is bad,
Yep.
I shouldn't be doing that. And I just think of the toll that it takes on somebody, like mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that, to just be like wired to go,
Yeah.
go, 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 gotta clean, gotta cook, gotta do this, gotta, and I think eventually, Brittany talked about it in our previous episode of what the two underlying things that she worked with a lot of women was gut health, but stress management. And you think of the amount of chronic stress that somebody goes through when they think they need to just be like
Yeah.
on it
Yeah.
constantly.
So
I
true.
yeah, I felt like that for a long time as a stay-at-home mom. A long time. I was like, and I don't know, and it was probably me putting it more on myself of worrying what other people were going to think, but I did all the things and I volunteered for all the things and I'll go, 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 go. And I enjoyed a ton of it. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong,
Yeah.
but I never felt like I should sit still ever. Even as a new mom, like, and this is like going way back now, it's like, but one of my hardest things as a brand new mom on maternity leave, because I was working at the time, was I felt guilty when I was sitting and holding my baby because I should do something. I'm on vacation. I'm on maternity leave. I don't have to work for 6 weeks, so I probably should clean out that closet and do this. I just had a baby, but my brain was still telling me I should do that. But then if I would go do that, I felt guilty that I wasn't holding my baby. Like I just
Yeah.
and that's something. I mean, I've really, really been working on that the last couple of years, and I've came a long way. But I always felt like I had to be on, but I never, whatever I was doing, I still felt like I wasn't doing the right thing. It's like, well, if I was being really busy, I probably should just sit with my family. But then it was just sitting. Oh my God, I should be doing something. It's like
But I
a
think that
vicious cycle.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because I actually just saw when I was scrolling, right? I saw a TikTok video and it was a guy and he was on there and he was showing all the things that a woman's body goes through in order to have a baby.
Uh,
And, what happens to them after we have a baby. And in society, when we see people that are, famous or whatever, and people are just dogging on this woman because she has a pooch after she had a baby, or she still has the 60 pounds that she put on, or whatever it is, 30 pounds, whatever. And he just was going through, he's like, and yet we expect them to go back to work like 2 days later, whatever. And in some of our parts of our society people do. And
mhm.
but in our, not to try to get political, I'm just saying we don't, it's still we have maternity leave, but it's not paid. you know? So for a lot of people, I remember I had to go back to work after having Judd, and it was 5 weeks. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I cried so hard. There were little grandmas that were there holding the babies, and I was like, well, that helped me until I got to the car. And then I was like, but I should be still, so I'm glad you bring that up too, Jenny Lee, is that our bodies, we often are at war with our own bodies. Our bodies are trying to tell us something, right? Like when we're nodding off, it's telling us we need more sleep. But we tend to think that it means that we're weak, and we are having hunger pains because we should either drink some water or we're hungry. We're actually hungry. But we tell ourselves, oh, that's not what it is. Because we think we're, so we
Or
make
I can't eat more food because I gotta lose this weight to look good for
right,
this and
right.
that. And
Meanwhile, we're breastfeeding, or you know what, our body is in, we could go on a whole nother conversation about cortisol, right? About the stress
Oh,
hormone and what that does to our body, which I think all three of us have been in there, and what that has done to us. But instead of listening to our own intuition and sinking in and saying, okay, this is how I'm feeling right now, what could this possibly mean? It could mean that, if I'm sitting here bawling over something, I'm just sad. Or is it that this is happening more often than not? So is that saying that maybe I do, we've talked about it a little bit before, seasonal affective disorder. There are so many people that I know in my life that because living in the north, this beautiful sunshine is not always happening. And so, those types of things, or you can see it over the years. I'll even say with my husband, I don't think, I mean, but he always said that there was this like in between of him coaching football and then coaching baseball, there was a small window of time, and he usually would get pretty kind of down. And it was, even though he liked having the downtime, it was also because he was having what we just got done talking about. Like he was used to always, working 24/7. And then it was like, what do I do? And then
yeah,
it
you almost don't know what to do with
don't know
your
what to
life.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also then it was cold during the winter, right? Those types of things. And that just became like his cycle, until we started to figure that out. And I was like, okay, what can we do during this time? And he always seemed to have, and then we figured it out, like have a project during that time so that he could,
Yep.
not that he wouldn't allow himself to sit, but be in that middle ground of like, okay, let me have something to work on, but not be go, go, go. And he wasn't able to just sit either. So find that in between space. So I think, yes, we're talking about our female perspective, right? But also that does happen to the men in our lives as well,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah,
because I
100%.
think they have that, um, they're like, that's what I'm just saying, going back to what your husband said, even though you guys have had those conversations, that doesn't always come naturally, right? And it doesn't mean that that person is bad. It's that maybe in the home that they were raised in, that was something that was never talked about, or
yeah.
he or she never saw that, right? So you don't know that that's something. And so there's that constant evolution of those relationships with others and relationships with ourselves, like not holding ourselves above everybody else's standard, so high that we can't even reach it, you know? Yeah.
Well, and I just want to say, like, for all of us here, I'm so proud of you ladies and myself. I am finding that I'm actually taking pride now in that white space, as Nikki calls it, in the downtime. Like, I'm really proud of myself. I sat down and read my book for an hour today, or like I finished two books. Like 2 weeks ago, I think I finished a book, and I finished that book in like 2 weeks. Like I read two books in a month. I don't know if I read two books last year. Like
Yeah.
enjoyment books, not a self-development or
Yeah.
business development. They were enjoyment books. But I'm starting to take pride in that, pride in the fact that I am slowing down and learning that, and being able to slow down without feeling jittery. Like that's hard. Like when you first start to like learn to find white space, it's really hard to sit in it sometimes because you're just like looking around like, what did I forget to do?
It's
Well, and
so unfamiliar to you. It's something new. It's just like anything else. I mean, I use math all the time as an example with some of my clients. Like when you're learning something new, it's literally like math. If I were to put in front of a 5-year-old, like 6 times 6, like they're gonna look at you like, what the heck? Like, I don't, they're gonna be jittery. They're not gonna be able to just sit and do the math problem, but they are capable of doing it with practice, right? And same with resting and relaxing like that. It's so unfamiliar to you, but that doesn't mean that you're not able to learn how to do that and be comfortable with it too. So just practicing it over and over, like you did, Jenny, of you finished 2 books in a month. Like
Yeah,
that took a lot of time. And I bet by the end of that month, it was like, I'm looking forward to this. I don't, you probably didn't even think of feeling jittery or like, what should I be doing? You weren't questioning it. It was kind of a pride thing of like, yeah, I get to sit down and read my book and like not be interrupted and feel good about it
exactly.
too.
Yes. And
Yeah.
not feel guilty about it. And it was like I enjoyed it so much. This week I have found myself as I'm preparing for a trip, which can cause me some anxiety. I find myself falling into some of those old habits and I have to be like, stop. Like I think the other day I literally out loud told myself, stop. Like you're circling, you're like spiraling. And this morning, like reaching out to Shelby about some things, and I was like, oh my God. She's like, okay, stop. I don't know if you use the word stop, but she basically told me that.
I
And
was like, let it go.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was
just
like,
let
so
it go.
what should I do? And that's kind of one of the things I put in my text was, I just need you to tell me what to do. And then I reread, I'm like, well, that sounded kind of bossy. So then I left a voice message. Like, I'm not like commanding you instructions. I'm just saying, here's our options. Tell me what to do because right now my brain is like too busy. Yeah.
Well, and I think the, the thing that comes from sharing what this looks like in our real life is that also that we're showing other people that it's possible to change our behavior, number
Mhm.
one. And so if we change our own behavior, then we could start a movement of other women saying it's okay for me to sit down and read a book, that it is just as important for me to take time in my schedule, in my day to read a book, because that's also, it's helping us in so many different ways, right? We're learning lessons. We're also letting our imagination run and losing ourselves in something. And that is, I kind of get lost on sometimes when people say, what is your hobby? I'm like, I don't freaking have a hobby. I'm like, I've tried and I don't know what it is. And I kind of freaked out about that for a while. And I'm like, no, let it go. I'm just allowing myself the space to see what that is or what things I find enjoyment in. And I think
Yeah.
that's where us talking about this is going to help other women to have that bravery to say, or the courage to say, you know what? I even just want to put one thing in my week. Start that way. I'm not even asking for daily, right? Like even one time a month, or if you feel so bold, one time a week, whatever that is. And then being okay to say, and like I said, have that phone a friend, whether it's text or whoever that says to you, let it go. It's okay.
Mhm.
Or let's problem solve this out, right? Is this something that we have to worry about right now? Or is this something that we can set? That's something for me. I used to think that when someone called with a problem, whether it was mine or not, right, that I had to help them solve it right then and there. And so nowadays, I am like, you know what? I might have got an email or I got a text. There's wonderful, wonderful things that you can make your text back unread so that I see it tomorrow. I give myself 24 hours or whatever. Or if I'm sitting there watching my TV show or reading my book and somebody calls me and I'm like, no, I am not going to take, or you hear the ding, right? All those different things that no, I'm not going to. And my old self would have done that because I'm thinking, well, so I put other people's needs above my own.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I answered their question, I answered their text, even though I was trying to meditate or sent them back a snap or whatever it was, right? Now I've learned no, no, I take priority. Now I still have moments of slipping, right? But that I also think that's human.
Mhm.
It takes time. And but us saying this now and reiterating that we have been able to do some of it, it gives other people hope that, and we can change it so that our kids and their kids and our grandkids or whoever down the line, hopefully there's more people out there like us that are saying no, have some of that slower pace of life. I go back to, I said when I first started in the career of school psychology, we had email and we had cell phones and stuff like that, but it wasn't like it is now. And so
Mhm.
I would maybe travel great lengths to go to schools, and then I would get home and I would do paperwork when I got home because that wasn't on your phone. I remember having a BlackBerry, but to try and type a report on that was not going to happen, right? And so you get home and my kids would go to bed and I'd write reports when they were sleeping. Well, then the age of the smartphone and more laptops and things like that. So what took most of us that maybe 10 to 12-hour day was able to be condensed because we were able to answer questions quickly and things like that, which is all well and good, but then we feel like we never get an off switch, right?
Mhm.
And so that's where I want people to start to think about how can you create that off switch for yourself? There's a lot of things like we've had conversations, which we haven't even delved into that on here about like Chat GPT or other AI modes of like Notebook and Nana Banana and all the different things that are out there, Claude and stuff like that to use to help our day we could work smarter and not harder,
Mhm.
but also that you don't necessarily have to replace something else in that time that you saved. That's
Yes.
that's that's the goal. That's the rule that we need to learn is that okay, so we're now learning these things to streamline and to be able to move through those at a better pace, but that doesn't mean that then we have to reinsert something in that time that's work, right? I look at it, if
Absolutely.
I can do what would take somebody else 8 hours and I can get it done in 2 or 3, then that leaves me time to do other things that I want to do. If it involves work, great, but that we don't have to, you know?
Mhm.
That's one thing I can appreciate about, I feel like my generation and even the generation below me is some of the older generation probably saw us as lazy and stuff, but I think, yes, are there lazy people that are my age
Yeah.
and younger? Absolutely. But we took that idea of work smarter, not harder, and made it efficient. And we are finding other things to do with our time that involve enjoyment or, think hobbies and stuff like that. Like, I feel like if I can ask several of my friends, what are your hobbies? They can list off a couple of things that they want to do. And I know, like, when COVID happened, a lot of people were able to start working from home and maybe still work at home, and that freed up their schedules and stuff too. But I think our generation is just talking about it more too. And we've seen the older population, like, be that generation of, I can't sit down, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And we're like, I don't wanna be like that. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to sit guilt free and relax. And I want to take extra time off from work because my work is not my identity. My work is not, at the end of the day, even if your boss absolutely loves you and your family and this and that, like at the end of the day, if you don't have a job, you don't have a job. But we're taking time to travel. We're doing more like quality things with our extra time, but we're building in that extra time, like you're talking, being just more efficient. And so it's nice to have these conversations now too, because the older generation, they didn't have these conversations. Like this wasn't happening. And I mean, we've talked about that on the hormones and all the other things, but I think these conversations need to continue to happen so people can have that permission of like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think today was a really good coffee chat. I think we kind of ran the gamut of all kinds of things. I mean, we could go deeper, but we can save that for another day. But I just think that it was a really good reminder of, I mean, especially for us too with the Real Joy Project. If you haven't noticed, we still have our private group, but we have launched our Facebook page. So now we're official there. We have our website. You can find us on YouTube, all those different things. So as you can imagine, there's been a lot of frenzy with that, right? All of us getting those different components done. And you can get lost in that. And I
Mhm.
guess if there's anything that we would want you guys to have as a takeaway, anybody that's listening today, is that I mean, there's always going to be rules, but are those the rules for you? You have to find what works for you. And I agree with you, Shelb, when you just ended about saying the younger generation. I've been saying that for a while. I'm like, I think they've stumbled on something, right? Like, I'm like, I think every 7 years, people should change their job in some aspects because it makes us have different perspectives and things like that. And so I just think that today it was a breath of fresh air for me. It was an aha, just like it feels good to just have this time to sit and talk about some of those things that you think that you maybe have dealt with already. It's not just a one and done. It's something that shows its ugly head sometimes at different points in our lives and seasons. And having those people or those things to remind us, whether you're using a journal, you phone your friend, you send a Marco, you send an actual card in the mail. I still love getting cards in the mail. I'm not the greatest at sending them, but sometimes I remember. But that, you know, it's okay to rest and you do not have to earn it. So I think that's where we're finding the joy. I haven't decided what my hobbies are yet, but I can tell you what things bring me joy, right? And I definitely have put more of those things and people into my life. And I think that's the real lesson. Yeah.
I love when we have these conversations because it's just for people to know, like right before this call, we were just like, what should we talk about today? And we talked for like 2 minutes and we're like, okay, let's just roll with it. Like, and sometimes what we originally bring up doesn't even come up. It just rolls the whole conversation. And I just appreciate, and today felt like a good check-in, like to check in with you guys, check in with myself. It was like, there's some good reminders today that I needed to hear.
So
Yeah.
true. So true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll try to do what Jenny Lee does, or if you want to tell them all the places that they can find us, I guess I went off a little bit, but you can always send us out.
Yeah. Shelby, anything before we end?
No, this was great. I love visiting with you guys. I hope there were some takeaways for some listeners, and go take a nap, go rest, go binge your show. My latest thing has been coloring at night. If you
Ooh.
have not, get a color by number book, because you don't even have to make a decision what color you're going to do. And the book just tells you. That is the best thing in the world as a mom for me is cool. I get to do something I love and I don't have to make any decisions for it.
Love
So
that.
um and it's a way for me to still just be creative and feel like I did something and productive and relaxing. But find your hobbies and take our word on it, or reach out to a friend, or keep following us for more permission to do things to make yourself feel like the best version of yourself.
Mm.
Absolutely. And you can find us at therealjoyproject.com on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for The Real Joy Project and on here at YouTube too. And if you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss upcoming conversations. Or go back and look at some of the old ones. We've had some really good conversations lately, including some guests that have joined us. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.